It's Wednesday and it's 9 o'clock. I think it's Wednesday. Yes, it's Wednesday and it's 9 o'clock. And this is Wedding Wednesday. We're just waiting for people to join in our conversation. I've had a lot of people send me questions, so we are going to get to those questions. If you have any questions, send them this way. I will try to get to them if I don't miss them. Look at this hair. It's quarantine, and you know what? I just want to thank you for tuning in on Wednesdays. Not because I just love talking to you guys, but also because you guys give me the excuse to put some makeup on and fix my hair as best as I can and cover my grays with the spray and make me feel like a normal person again. So I want to thank you for that. These nails are disgusting, and I had to cover them with my own nail polish, which I am not an esthetician whatsoever. So yeah, thank you for tuning in and dealing with however I could get myself to look pretty in quarantine. The highlight of your week, that's so nice. Thanks for tuning in. I am going to go through some questions that were sent. And first of all, today it's not water, it's wine. Cheers. Apparently, it is socially acceptable now to drink your wine and your alcohol while you're on live, so I'm doing it. I just spent an hour watching Jessica Mulroney and Jesse Cruikshank, hopefully I didn't screw up her last name, talking and drinking, and it's the best thing. I find, like, I don't know about you guys, but yes, we are social distancing, but I'm finding myself also very close to people, like, just because, you know, we're able to do this FaceTime and these lives and these Zoom meetings, and I've never like texted and emailed and talked to my parents so much in my life. So you know, when we come out of this, I'm sure there will be a lot of blessings. Hopefully people don't forget. Now, I don't want to spend the whole hour talking about COVID-19, but this is what's going on in our world right now, and things are changing every week and questions keep coming in. I will try not to be repetitive, but if you haven't been tuning in to the past shows, you can go on YouTube at the Boosted Box and watch the past shows, because we did talk a lot about what is going on in the industry right now. If you are a bride that was supposed to get married and has had to move their date, I apologize. I feel sorry for you, but I just want to tell you that everything's going to be great and you're going to have your event, and it might even be better than what you imagined to begin with. So don't fret, don't cancel, postpone, don't regret, like, you know, say you're going to cancel and, you know, go and elope and then regret it after. You are going to want to have the wedding that you always dreamed of. It's just going to move a few months. So keep doing your planning. If you're getting married next year, someone sent me a question. Is it okay to start planning, to call, to do whatever we can to plan for next year while this is going on? Yes, it is. It's going to be different. Your meetings are going to be through, you know, video chat, some form of video chat. You might not be able to see materials in person, let's say for linens, plates. But you know, you go through Pinterest, you go through people's Instagrams, you love their stuff. So I'm sure some things you can choose through doing video chat. And also there's a lot of places, venues, people who have decor, who are offering live walkthroughs of their you know, their venue or their stores, their places. So there's so many ways to get your planning done without having to physically go to these places. So there's always a way. Think out of the box and you can get it done. And not, you know, if you have a wedding planner, just saying, it does help a little more, especially because they have the experience of who to go to and what things really look like. So just consider that if you're thinking about planning your wedding, not just for the day of, but if you do need help at this point with planning, having a planner is helping a lot more, especially in the situation that's going on now. So the first question I got was, how are vendors handling what is going on? I know we've spoken about this. If you're just tuning in, I will discuss this now. Also, just to mention, if you want to share this with any of your friends, this will be on for 24 hours on Instagram, but you can press that little arrow button there in the corner and on the bottom, and that you can, you know, select who you want to share this live with. I moved my wedding to the end of August. What are your thoughts? Okay. For the end of August, my thoughts are, keep your date. It will be possible that you might have to move it again. because nobody knows what is going on. I don't have answers for that right now. None of my clients for July or August have moved yet. Everyone that I've spoken to are in the process, like June weddings are being moved, and we're trying to do things slowly, a little bit at a time, because even for the venues, they are moving a little bit at a time. So if you have to send out your invites, you can send out your invites May, June, July, August. You can try to send your invites out a little bit later than you would have normally. You can send them out in June, and you can send them out, with a little notice saying my date might change. But speak to your venue also to see if you have options to change again, what your options are to move a second time. Just have a backup plan. I know you've already moved it, but just have a backup plan, because right now nobody has answers to that. But I'm not telling anybody right now in August to move. If you're asking what I'm telling my clients. Again, I also want to say that a lot of you watching are not my clients, and if I'm giving any advice that just does not work for you, that is fine. It's my word is not in stone. Whatever my opinion is not the opinion of every other wedding planner, is not the opinion of every venue, is not the opinion of every photographer. So just take it with a grain of salt, and hopefully it helps you out. So how are vendors handling this? Well, it depends on the vendor that we're speaking about. I know that deposits are not being given back. That's because deposits are non-refundable. And most vendors are being very, they're trying to come to a happy medium with all their clients, which is great. They're being open, they're being available, more available than we ever were before, because we know that this is hard for you. We know that both of us don't have answers, and we also have not all gone through this before. This is new, so we're trying to come up, with an answer together of what to do. So a lot of, let's say you put a deposit, certain vendors have the option for you to use this deposit. If it doesn't work for the new date that you've picked, let's say a makeup artist, some of them sell products, and they'll allow you to use your deposit as a credit, and some of them just can't offer that. So speak to your vendors, as I always say, speak to your vendors, because they don't all have the same answers for you. Their policies are not all the same, and read your contracts, and that's the only thing I can say. Now, I know that venues are moving month by month. Don't panic if you call your venue up, your wedding's in August, and they say we're not moving anybody yet, or we'll only allow you to move to March. They're trying to take things month by month. So it will benefit you to wait a little bit, because once the May, it's not like there won't be any dates available for you next year. If you wanted to move to next year, if you had no choice to move to next year, what is happening is they're giving the dates up until, let's say, March. For the April, May, June weddings that are moving now, it might benefit you that if you did not want to have a wedding January, February, March, in August they might open up more dates. They might open up the dates, March, April, and May next year if it gets to that. So it might benefit you to wait. I do know that a lot of the venues are speaking to each other, and a lot of the vendors are speaking to each other. So it's not like we're not all in communication. We're all in communication because we're trying to figure out what the answers are. What'll benefit our clients and what'll benefit our business, so that we're all actually here when this is all over. Because you have to keep in mind that some businesses might not make it through this. So this is why we're all speaking to each other. Florists, assuming they have the date available, you might have to revisit what you're ordering. So if you are, you were getting married in April, you're getting married in the spring or whatever, and you wanted a certain flower, they might not be available in December. Keep an open mind, think out of the box, and you might actually come up with something even more creative than you originally thought. So just, if you're going to move from April to December, speak to your florist, not just because we need to make sure you have, the dates work, but also you might have to revisit what your wedding is going to look like. DJs, videographers, photographers, most of them have teams. So if you're moving your date, the only thing is you might not get, the one person on that team that you have wanted. But again, like for my business, I do have teams. I don't go to every wedding that we do, but I do oversee every single wedding. So you have hired the company, and I would never put people out there to do my weddings that I don't trust. So and that I haven't trained. So just keep an open mind that even if you don't get the owner of a business, it doesn't mean that your wedding's not going to happen the way you wanted it to. And also, Daniela is here. I see her. Did you add yourself so I can get some expertise on dresses? Because I've had some questions about what happens. I've ordered my dress. Is it going to come in? Are my bridesmaid dresses going to come in? Do I have am I going to be able to get my fittings done? Let me just see. There she is. Come on. And also she could speak to us about flowers because she does flowers as well. Just waiting for Daniela to come on. There you are. Hi, how are you? Do you have your wine like I do?
Breaking up.
You're freezing. Let me put it louder. I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, hold on. Maybe I
Am I frozen? So we're going to try this for a few seconds. Oh, there you are. Okay. Because I know that a few nights people are having trouble adding guests. So I'm just going to wait for you to get to somewhere that's not dark. There you are. Okay. So Daniela works as a bridal consultant, selling wedding dresses, bridesmaid dresses, and maybe she can give us some other insight on what do I do right now if I'm a bride, I'm getting married in July, August. I'm kind of worried about my dress not coming in or not being able to get fitting.
So dresses are still coming in. Anything that has been ordered prior to this whole COVID shutdown. So anything prior to March, the beginning of March, you're fine. Dresses will still come in as scheduled. It may take a little bit longer. That's why it's best to always order your dresses a year in advance. Not 6
And the reason,
9 months.
part of the reason why it's taking longer is because they're taking an extra measure to make sure that everything is sanitized, correct?
Exactly.
Mhm.
So, like UPS is still working, Purolator is still working. So if you have ordered your dress, your shipping date may be off by a few weeks. So not to worry about that.
So the dresses are going to come in, and if it happens that this COVID, if this is lifted, a month before my wedding, my dress comes in. I think it's just going to be a matter of whoever your seamstress is going to just have to do less fittings or doing the fittings, sew a little bit faster than usual, right?
So typically, like fittings could be up to 4 on a norm, right? Would be up to 4. If it's now, you're probably looking at no more than 2. So if you are getting married in July, say the beginning of July, then June should be sufficient. It'll be enough time. And yeah, and that's it. You'll probably have up to two fittings. The first fitting to pin you, the second fitting to make sure that we pinned you correctly, and then the last is to pick up.
Yeah. I just, you're not saying, oh, you only get 2 fittings, so only like one sleeve is going to be fixed. It'll be fixed,
No,
whatever
it'll be fixed.
you just can't, you just can't be the type of bride to have 2 fittings. Then on the third one, you decide, I want to add some sleeves after already having 2 fittings, which happens all the time, right? It's just the decisions are going to have to be made a little bit, in less time. Right.
And also, you can't bring your mother, your grandmother, your sister, your cousin to these fittings. It's you and the seamstress alone. So that's the other thing is that the social distancing, I know they say up to 5, but it's probably best for everybody's interest, just the bride and the seamstress, and that's it.
Yeah.
If you want to FaceTime your mom, and your mom's there and you want her to be part of that, then by all means FaceTime, but just keep it to yourself and the seamstress.
Right. So the message here is to everybody, don't panic because shipping is still happening. And you always make these measures of like ordering your dress ahead of time so that there is enough and it comes in like weeks early enough anyway, usually. So, and we always do that kind of stuff because in case there's any error ever, right? So you consider this taking up that error time.
Yeah.
So, there's ways to get around things. And if you had to do a fitting, I'm not sure if all bridal places are doing fittings, or we're just talking about, the places we know, that they're willing to do fitting, and it's just one-on-one. And I'm sure, you have to wear a mask and whatever, gloves. Um, and you do it fast and you get it done. There's no like, here, want a glass of champagne, let's do your fitting and
Oh
let's
yeah,
all
yeah, no,
clap
that
and
ain't
take
happening.
pictures. I mean, you're just not going to get that, but you're still going to have your dress. You can't go to your wedding naked. Somehow we'll make it happen, right?
Right. And some seamstress, some boutiques like where I work, in terms of bridesmaids, because a lot of things are concerned about their bridesmaids. Um, if you know your own um, seamstress, then by all means, you take your bridesmaid dress and have them do it. But for where I work, we don't do bridesmaids at all because we're too busy with brides. But ladies, honestly, um, don't worry about it. You're going to be in good hands. You need a wedding day first before you can put on your dress. So with time and patience, and I know this is very frustrating. I know I can speak for myself that being such a busy bod and dealing with people every day and brides every day and being at social events and then having nothing is it's quite emotional. Like it's emotional, and it's I don't know. I feel for all of you. Like I do. This industry is like got hit hard. Like got hit hard. Ro? Like bad.
Yes, but I just feel like, well, I feel like the weddings, when they finally get back to whatever the new normal is going to be, is I think the parties will be amazing because people
Oh
will just be
yeah.
so much happier.
Oh yeah.
Actually,
I
one of the questions was, how are weddings going? How do you think weddings are going to be? And I mentioned this before. I think that slowly they're going to start to allow you to have a certain amount of people. Um, and I think slowly people are going to, obviously, if it ends this week, next week, they're going to be a little scared to go out. But I think as human beings, that I don't think we're going to be able to go long, without hugging people and shaking people's hands. And I even saw this on the news today. Like a psychologist was on the news saying, we're humans and what we need is touch. So I don't think it's going to go, forever, that we're not going to be hugging and kissing, especially as Europeans. I think in the beginning we might change a few things. We might not have receiving lines. We might have cocktail hours, or we might just, cut out the whole cocktail hour altogether and just people come in, they sit. Um, there's not a whole hour. I don't know. We'll figure out how to do it. The bride and groom. I've done weddings where the bride and grooms just they're not part of the cocktail hour. They just come in after when they're ready to be announced. Someone mentioned, should we have antipasto bars? Should we take them out? You know what? Maybe antipasto bars will be different, where it's a touchless antipasto bar, meaning I can't go and grab my own food, but all the waiters will be wearing gloves and they'll be behind something, like when you go to an ice cream bar, and they'll serve you instead of everybody being able to grab their own stuff, because that's a little bit, I mean, that's always been a little bit, you never know if someone's going to sneeze or whatever they do when they touch food,
I
and they
know.
touch the bread and they squeeze it and put it back, like when they go to the grocery store. um, so maybe those will be put into place. Like I can see waiters wearing gloves from now on. People were
We
out
used
also
to.
asking about,
Back in the day, we used to. When I used to
yeah,
work,
yeah, yeah,
we used
I
to wear
remember.
gloves. It was
Hmm.
mandatory. You had to wear your white gloves. It was for cleanliness, and then just things just changed. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, they got a little bit nasty. You had to like keep changing them throughout the night, especially for
Yeah,
your French serving the fettuccine, and it splashed everywhere, right?
for real. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Oh
true.
my God, that was the best job to have, working at a banquet hall, eh? It
It was the
was so
best.
much fun.
I loved it. I loved working. I
Yeah.
swear to God, I loved it. I actually worked at two. So I was a head waitress at both, at the Crystal Fountain in Markham, and then the Hollywood Princess back in the day. Yeah,
I worked at the Royalton. The Royalton,
the
still around.
Royalton. Yeah.
Different owners, but still around.
TVE,
But what do
TVE
you?
used to work. TVE used to work at the Royalton. Vince,
Who? Sorry,
Vince used to work at the Royalton on TVE.
did he
Vince.
really? I gotta look
Yeah.
into that.
I
He
wonder
was
what
there for
years. I
the
was like,
shooting. Do you remember the shooting at the Royalton?
no, no,
Yeah, he was
no.
working that night.
Stephanie Laviola, yes, she did too. We were all worked together.
Yeah.
Wasn't it so much fun, Steph? She's at a venue every night, but I think the stress is a little different for her now. So Stephanie's watching. I don't know if she wants to chime in on this conversation. And Danielle, like I'm keeping you on here, but it's up to you if you need to go. What do you think about? I personally don't see. I don't know how. I mean, we'd have to think creatively, but people are asking, do you think you're going to have less people per table? I don't think that really makes a difference, to be honest, to have someone 2 feet away. Like, you're not going to have someone 6 feet away unless it's four people, not even two people at a table.
Well, then,
I don't
no.
think that's going to change unless people, like maybe people will, Steph was the best waitress. I think people maybe will, if we advise them to keep families together so that you're always sitting with your parents and whoever you are used to being around, like instead of, it's just the friends tables. How do you do something like that? I don't know. Trying to keep people away at a venue, at an event. I mean, there's not really a point of having the event, to be honest. So hopefully
No,
just the
because
fear goes away.
at the end of the day, just say you invite 250 people. If we're going to be social distancing, even your tables, you're going to need the whole venue. You're
Yeah.
going to need the whole
No,
venue.
it's not worth it.
So it's not worth
No.
it. So venues are going to lose money. You're going to be spending more money. No, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
But maybe they'll just think more about. Usually, people do keep families together, but maybe instead of putting like all the great aunts at one table, they'll keep the great aunts with their kids. They might have to think about that. But I mean, I don't see it changing that much.
No.
You have to go to ceremonies too. What are you going to do? Sit like 6 feet apart from everybody during the ceremony? I don't think so. Now, are weddings going to change? Someone said to me, I mean, I hope it was a joke, but do you think there'll be virtual events? I don't think so. I wouldn't want that. Maybe people will start inviting less people and, maybe they'll stream it. I could see streaming happening. Like, you know what? My cousins from Italy couldn't come. Let's do a live stream of our whole wedding. I could see that happening.
Yeah, for sure. Well, if you're getting married at St. Peter's Church, we know there for sure is a live.
Yeah, I didn't even know they had that for like a couple of like a few years.
When I can't make it to Mass on Sunday, I live stream it.
Oh, he's the best to watch though.
Yeah.
Speaking of churches, someone mentioned, and I haven't really spoken to many churches. I was going to try to get Father Mike on, which I've been wanting to do for 2 years. So I might get him on here. But do you know if they're doing weddings on Sundays? I was told that. I don't know which church it is. Some churches are doing weddings. They're offering weddings on Sundays up until just 2020, but they won't do it in 2021. I personally don't know how they're doing that, considering they have, 5 masses on a Sunday? 4 or 5 masses on a Sunday?
They'll probably just do like the one ceremony.
One wedding like at 4 o'clock, maybe?
Probably.
Maybe they'll do like a late Sunday. Yeah.
Yep.
Do you know if churches are not doing on Friday? You know what, Stephanie? I'm going to call Father Mike and I'm going to have a long conversation with him. I might have him on a live because I want to know what they're doing. I've been told by some people, no, I don't want to mention that church, but I would expect that from that church. And I've been told by other people, yes. So yeah, your client's probably the same person the same church I'm thinking of. I know my church doesn't do any Sunday weddings. I think it's hard because Sunday's their day. And Sunday's their day to have all their masses. Churches unfortunately said Sundays are absolutely out of the question in 2021. I don't know why. I don't know if it's all churches. Again, funny to believe it or not, like, yes, they have an archdiocese, but they have different rules in every church. Sometimes they feel like going by all the same rule, and sometimes they like, no, we don't do things this way. And they really think that that's the only way to do things. Because, Daniela and myself, we've been to so many churches doing weddings, and they do things differently, right? So I don't know if that's like a whole archdiocese rule. But the reason I would assume is because that's not the way they run things. It's like they'll accommodate for now, but that's not the way they run their business normally. To have it on a Sunday, and it's a lot of work for them. I tried to get info so we can guide them correctly. I will. I'm going to do that tomorrow morning. Actually, it was supposed to happen today, and I relied on someone else to call them. Not going to say who, my husband, but no, he has Father Mike's cell phone number, and I didn't want him to whatever. Anyway, I'm gonna find out, and he's gonna come on here, because I haven't
He'll
had to
come
do
out
that
now.
far.
He's
Sorry?
done meeting. He's done interviews. I've seen his interviews live.
Yeah, I've
It's
seen him
the
on
same.
live, so now I'm gonna bother him. I didn't want to bother him before.
Yeah.
What about a Friday? If we're talking about churches, again, I don't know the answer, and I honestly think that some churches are saying yes and some are saying no. I know some churches who do their rehearsals on a Friday night, so I don't know.
Yeah. I don't
Um,
even think rehearsals are even happening.
yeah, well,
I don't think they.
if weddings are gonna happen, why can't rehearsals happen? The rehearsals are less people. I don't see why they can't happen.
That's true too.
Like there's some churches like, I know St. Peter's, I keep talking about it because I just know that they all do things the same way all the time. And Father Mike there is very, he guides everybody through the masses. So you can't be lost. If you were having a wedding at St. Peter's and you had no rehearsal and, your wedding planner showed up and said, this is how we're lining up, let's do it. Father Mike would say, okay, this is what we're doing and go. And he guides you through the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But not every church is like that. There's some churches that are just not accommodating like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to let you go and I'm going to answer some more questions here. And thank you for your expertise. We'll see you next time.
No problem. We'll see you guys. Stay
Have a glass of
safe.
wine. Cheers.
Okay. Ciao. Bye.
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 Okay, is a private ceremony in church with more than 5 people but under 10 technically not allowed? My priest is happy to marry us, but I don't want him to get in trouble. Again, sometimes churches make up their own separate rules. If they're willing to get in trouble for you, that's on them. I believe you can gather up to 5 people. The issue you're going to have there is if you don't have your marriage certificate, you can't get one now because all the offices are closed. So I'm not sure if you have a marriage certificate yet, and I know it does expire within 90 days. So, is a private ceremony in church with more than 5 people but under 10 technically not allowed? Oh, more than 5 people. Sorry. You know what? There's ways to get around that because yes, you can't socially gather more than 5 people, but can you be 6 feet away from 20 people? Technically, you can argue that those people are having their own gathering and these people are having their own gathering on the other end of the church. If you really wanted to argue it that way, you could. Just keep your 2-meter distance. How about 2021 weddings? Should we not worry or perhaps think about pushing it? I don't know if Stephanie's still here, but I would say do not worry about it yet. Don't think about pushing it. Actually, if you have a date in 2021, I would not move it because if you move it, the people who are trying to move their date from now, 2020, who want to eventually and are available to move to 2021 are going to take your date as soon as it's gone. So you can't go back on it. It's going to be hard. He's going to spread them out. Yeah, and you can argue that. You can argue we're staying 10 feet apart. 10 feet, 2 meters. So, I mean, if someone's going to call the cops on you because you're getting married and you're, staying 10 feet apart and there's 10 people, I mean, like, I don't know what kind of people are evil enough to do that. It's your family. Use your discretion. Think about the health of the priest and whoever else has to do the ceremony. And as long as you're being respectful that way for the people who are coming, just think about everybody else's health. If you're doing a wedding and you have a photographer and a video, like it's also not, oh, you're only allowed to have 5 people at your wedding. You're only allowed to gather 5 people. So if your photographer, videographer are already 2 people, you and your fiance and the priest, that's 5. If you plan on having these people there. If you don't plan on having a photographer, videographer, another thing to think about is these are not photographer, videographer, they're not essential services. So are they even allowed to be working? And are you going to get them in trouble? So I don't know if that's part of your plan, but just think about those things and have these conversations with your vendors. And if you're going to have flowers and all that stuff, everything has to be timed so that nobody runs into each other. So hopefully I answered that question. Let's go on to the next question. Let's see here. Okay. So someone asked, is it bad to invite only the people who said yes the first date if you postpone? Okay. So again, this is my advice. The question is, if I was planning on having my wedding, let's say May, and I want to move my wedding to October, and all the people for May have already responded, and I have some no's, do I invite those no's again? My opinion is, just out of respect, I would invite those people again. And because you don't know why they said no the first time. Maybe they had another wedding or maybe they had another event and they might be available on your new date. So I would invite the same amount of people. And also don't forget, you have promised your venue, a minimum amount of guests, and you don't want to, have to pay for a bunch of guests that are not coming after. You might as well, because don't forget, the amount of people you invite is not always the amount of people that are going to come. So even if they said yes the first time, and those 100 people out of the 150 who said yes, they're not going to all say yes the second time. They might have something else going on, or they might just not want to come, and then your numbers are going to keep getting lower. So I wouldn't put yourself in that position, to be honest. Things change every day. Making decisions at this time are not smart. Yes, if you're talking about the 2021 wedding, I would not make a decision on that yet at all. But what I do say to the 2021 weddings is keep planning. There's no reason to stop. Keep looking, keep talking to your wedding planner, keep, whoever you have to talk to plan as much as you can. Let's see. Are you postponing weddings that are in August? Currently, I have not postponed any weddings in August or July yet. But I'm not the boss of me for that. I can only advise. My clients, they contact their venue first, they contact their church, and they see what dates are available. I do know that most venues right now are not moving August yet. It's because they're allowing all the other months to move first, which I think is only fair. And they're only allowing the other months to move to a certain date. Some are only allowing them to move to March. And that's also to allow, in case it happens that the July and August have to move, then I assume might extend that to later. So we are trying to take 1 month at a time. And also, as I've said before, you have a contract for August and there's no, ban on having a gathering in August yet, technically, then, your initial contract will apply. Any penalties for moving or whatever it is might apply. So if there's been no ban on that month, like right now, the government has said about closing June and, not giving out permits for June, then you have a leg to stand on for that. And you're going to move your June event, then you can have a discussion with your venue. Do you know if churches are booking weddings or are they closed completely? I do believe you can get a hold of your venue to move your date. Not your venue. I'm sorry, your church to move your date, because I have a lot of clients who move dates and a lot of them are getting married in churches. So my conclusion to that is yes, they should be answering their phone. Can you go into the church? I don't know that the doors are locked. A church is supposed to be a place that's available for you all the time, as long as you're not coming in herds. But I'm pretty sure the office is closed and you just, you call or email. My wedding is at the beginning of August, and we are not able to postpone because the government regulations haven't affected that month. Exactly. That is what I was saying. So, let's see here. And what is your opinion on not inviting the people who have already said no to your first wedding? If anyone has an opinion on that, go ahead and shoot. Let's see what the next question here is. There are some people right now who have decided that they're going to elope. Someone sent a question, what are your thoughts on how do you tell your family you're going to elope? The answer to that for me is it all depends on your family. What you think that your family will say about that. I'm a very big family person. I'm very traditional as well. And I don't think that I could just go get married without telling my parents or whoever's close to me. I don't see why you can't have an honest conversation with your family and say, listen, this is what we want to do. I don't know what the whole circumstances of whoever asked me, but and why they're eloping. I'm just assuming it's a COVID situation. And, I also assume that you might want to have a party later. And I think that your parents will be happy, or your family will be happy to know that at some point you're going to celebrate and they will be a part of it. And I don't know what elope means to you. Elope could mean it's just me and my fiance, but we're going to videotape it and we'll show you. Someone will videotape it on their phone. So I'm not sure exactly what was involved in that elopement question, but How do you tell your family you're going to elope? The answer for me is you just tell them. You sit down and say, this is what we want. And as long as you, and this is for your whole life with your marriage, with your husband, your wife, as long as you guys are on the same page and you have each other's back, you shouldn't be afraid to have conversations with your family about what you guys want for your new family. Okay. If gatherings are allowed for certain number of people, 50 to 100, do you think venues will be obligated to lower the minimum guest count? Will they be obligated? This is such an up in the air question. Because they might turn to you. I mean, I don't know if Stephanie's still here and if she feels like chiming in on that, but the venue might say, okay, you're only allowed 100 people, but your contract promised me, I'm going to throw out a number, $60,000. So you can have those 100 people, but you need to spend $60,000 because that's what's on your contract. I'm not saying this is what's going to happen. I'm saying this is what could happen. And again, you'd have to talk to them. And they probably don't know the answer to this yet. They probably have to wait and see how things go. You guys need to understand that none of us have been in this situation, and we're trying to figure it out day by day, just like you are. So you might get that as your answer. Now, don't forget, when they say 50 to 100 people are allowed to gather, this includes the staff. This includes all your waiters, the bartender, the manager, the coat check person, whoever's involved. So, you know, don't think as soon as they say you can have 100 people at your event that you could just go and invite 100 people. It's less than that. The people that said yes, okay, so going back to the question, I know I asked your opinion. The people that said yes might say no to your new date. Exactly what I said. So, yes, it seems to be the consensus here is that if you are going to postpone your wedding, invite the same people. That's the answer. My daughter is scheduled to get married in September. If larger gatherings aren't allowed, Lily will have a small ceremony and have their reception next year to celebrate their first anniversary. I'm going to read that again. Oh, that's what they're going to do. Yeah, I think that is a good idea to have a small ceremony and have a reception another time. But again, you have to look at what the venue will allow you to do with movement. Like you can't decide that now for September. So, you know, you could probably decide that obviously every few weeks that go by here, then we can extend the wedding dates that we can move or have decisions for. I think that's a great backup plan. I didn't think about the staff. Yes. That's okay. I understood the question. Okay, so next question I have here is okay, so these questions are, you know, don't have to do with COVID. It has to do with any wedding that at any time. So if you guys have your opinions or you have any questions, go ahead and ask. I'm just going to give you my opinions again. So this question is, if families are paying for the wedding, should they have a say? So my answer to that with clients, because I've had this before, if your family is paying for the wedding, I think they should have a say, meaning they should be able to give you their opinion, but I don't think that the final decision should be theirs. Not everybody's going to agree with me, but I also say pick and choose your battles. Like, you know, don't go against if your mom's paying for your wedding, don't go against every single thing your mom is saying. Keep in mind that this is, I know you don't think it's their wedding too, but they've dreamed about this as long as you have. And if they really want, I don't know, confetti at the receiving line, and it's not going to kill you to have that, like, don't fight them on it. Pick and choose your battles, especially if they're paying for stuff. And if it's something you really, really want, let's say you really, really want, I don't know, a drone and you have to pay extra for it and your parents like, I will not pay for that. I think it's too expensive. Then think about paying for certain things yourselves that you really want. That's my answer to that. Let's see here. How do you cut the guest list without offending anyone? I'm assuming this is your original guest list. Cutting the guest list. Most of the time, they don't know that you're cutting them. They know that you're cutting them if you have like an older brother or sister that invited them the first time and now you're not. The number one excuse, if they ever say anything, is, listen, can't fit that many people in my venue, so I had to cut somewhere. And that's an honest answer. But what I say to people when they're cutting is you have to cut evenly, meaning you have to cut, if you're going to have all your first cousins, you can't cut, one family of your first cousins. I find that extremely rude. Even if you're closer to one side than the other, I don't agree with that. If you're going to cut out all first cousins, you got to cut out all first cousins. That's how I look at that. Let your mother or whoever is planning decide on at least one thing. Trust me, I learned the hard way. Right. Yeah. You know what? Or you learn this art of like, and you'll learn this when you get married. For those of you that are married out there, you learn this art of finding a way to make it seem like your parents came up with this idea, or yeah, that it was their idea, and I don't even know how to explain it. But there's ways to have listen. The one thing I'm going to say about anything in your life is conversation. Have a conversation with people. Everybody's human. Everybody's been through their own things. Everybody's coming to the table with a different emotion. Your mother might be coming to the table with like, this is my only daughter, and I want, I have sons, and I wasn't allowed to do anything because my daughter-in-laws didn't let me. So she's coming to this table with this anger that she's got to do everything, and it's got to be the way she wanted. So just try to look at the way everybody's coming to this table of conversation, and then just have a real conversation. Like, I really know that this is what you want, but this is why we don't want it. If you approach, Jesus keeps saying your mother, but if you approach the person who's paying for it in a way of like, no, I want this way, and I don't care if you're paying for it, guess what? You're never going to win. That's not the way you win with people at all. Just be honest with people. That's all I can say. One invites who they have a relationship with. Oh, Barbara disagrees with me. Invite who you have a relationship with. Well, yeah, Barbara, the thing is sometimes so Barbara is like a paisan of mine, and she got married a long time ago, right, Barbara? So the thing you learn in life that I've noticed, I find from my parents, is as you grow older, you start to not care about what this person thinks and what that person thinks, and you shouldn't really care about that. I agree, but if you're gonna cut people out, and it's gonna start a fight, or your parents are gonna end up fighting with their parents, or like, why do that? Do what you can to avoid that. That's what I'm saying. Now, I did have a question, going back to my posts. I actually got a couple of questions. You didn't see them all, but what if it's someone sent me a question saying, my husband has an uncle that hates me. Now, she said they hate her. I don't know if she knows for sure that they hate her, or if she thinks they hate her, or she says they treat her badly. Again, there's always three sides to a story, so maybe she feels they treat her badly, but that's just the way they are. I don't know what the story is. But the question was, her fiance wants to invite them, even though they said they won't come. So I don't know if they said they won't come because they don't like, I'm not coming because I don't like your fiance. I don't know if that actually happened. But personally, what I would do, even though it'd probably eat me, is invite them anyway and let the other person be the bad guy. Let the other person say no. Let the other person not come. And you know what? Sometimes you invite them and maybe they hate you, but they like their nephew. Maybe they'll send a busa and not come. But I would be the bigger person and invite them. That's my opinion. Wedding is in January. When should I save the dates? I wanted to send them now, but with COVID going on, it kind of got pushed. Okay, so did they get pushed because you couldn't print them? Because there's a lot of companies, like even myself, I do printing. I will still print save the dates. If anything, I would save your date. Send a save a date a little bit earlier than usual, because a lot of people are not sure if weddings are going to be going on, and you sending it will ensure them that it is going on. To your, a best of your ability to have a wedding, because we don't know what's going to happen in January. Hopefully it's all fine, but we don't know. So I would send them anyway. And for the other reason is because now that a lot of 2020 brides are moving, a lot of them are taking some January dates. And if you want to make sure those people are coming, I would send a save the dates. Now, I'm also going to tell you what I tell a lot of people. If you're worried about when should I send my invites? If I don't send an invite, they're going to go to someone else's wedding. If your cousin doesn't know your wedding date by now, that you're getting married in January, or your best friend or your close friends don't know your date, the important people should know that you're getting married in January. These are the people you talk to. These are the people your parents talk to. They should know they're getting married in January. for me, a save the date or a wedding invitation is just to tell them where to go and what time. So for someone to use the excuse like, oh no, I got this invitation before I got yours and I said yes to them, then you're really not that close to them, is my opinion. Do you think weddings are going to be scaled down, more intimate in our new reality? We were having this conversation before. I think that, yeah, well, if the government makes us, then we have no choice. I think that if you've already booked your wedding and you already, promised some numbers, then you might be a little bit obligated to have the same numbers. Now, if you're a new person just getting engaged and you're thinking about how you're going to plan your wedding next year, are you going to go more intimate? I think personally, and maybe I'm just not educated on that, I don't know, but personally, for me, 100 people is the same as having 400. You already have so many people in a room. If something's going to spread, it's going to spread. Yes, with more people, it's going to spread more. I get it. But if you're allowed to have 100, like at that point, hopefully we're allowed to have as many as we want. The reason why I think some might be scaled is because a lot of people have lost their jobs and they might not be able to afford the wedding they wanted to, or they still want to have those big, beautiful centerpieces and their budget's going to be lower. So they're cutting their budget by cutting the numbers. And still keeping the price for this amazing photographer they wanted. So that might be why people scale back, just because of money. Okay, so let me see if there's another question here. Is it too early to start planning even if you're not engaged and you both agree? I don't ever think it's too early to start planning. I mean, there's a lot of people who have been planning their weddings since they were like 8. Now planning, meaning designing how you want it to look, you can always start. If you and your fiance both agree that you want to start planning without being engaged, my first question is, why aren't you engaged? Sorry to say that. Like, why are you okay with planning but you're not engaged? Is it just because you can't afford the ring that you want? I guess that could be the answer. But you can plan. You just, it's hard to plan without a date. So you'd have to book a date or hold a date with a hall and then hold or book dates. Like, not everybody's going to hold your date that long, but you could call around and see who's available for certain dates you want. Like, it's just, you can start scoping out what you want, what you might want. And if you feel like you can book and you can put deposits down, my only advice is, if you're not engaged, I personally wouldn't go around telling everybody, oh my gosh, we booked Chateau Park, and then people are going to look at you. And again, you shouldn't care what people say, but also if your plans end up changing, then you have to go back and tell all these people that you've already told everything to, that you've changed your plans. So I personally wouldn't go around telling everybody that you're planning your wedding, but there's no problem with starting to plan if you're not engaged. I don't see a problem with that. How many months before is a good time to send out, save the dates? I'm getting married in March 2021. I'd say usually a year, like now, because, if you go a few more months, then you might as well just send out your invites. I mean, for March, you send them out December, January. I usually like to tell people don't send them out in December because there's too much mail going around and Christmas cards and everything. Like, send them out. You can send them out like the day after Christmas. But if you don't send out save the dates within the next few months, then don't even bother. Just send out invites. Wait until you get engaged. It takes away from the experience. So Daniela says, don't plan until you're engaged because it takes away from the whole experience of being engaged. And I can see how that's true because, you know what? Like, it's just to go around and show your ring to your friends and to, even when you go to like vendors, I think the conversation just feels a little bit different when you're engaged and when you're not engaged. But again, it's not like you can't plan. You can. No one's going to turn to you and be like, I don't see a ring on your finger. You're not engaged. I'm not booking you. No one's going to do that to you. They'll book you as long as you put a deposit. So let's see here. Okay. Okay. People want to hear horror stories. We only have 10 minutes, and that's not a lot of time for horror stories. I know that I've said some in the past, but you know what? I'll do an episode of horror stories and bring some brides on and bring some of my assistants on so they can share with you what we've been through. One of the questions I did get, which I want to talk about, not a big long question, but it's Mother of the Groom song. Someone asked for Mother of the Groom dance songs. If you have any opinions, shout it out. Believe it or not, I'm still seeing Le Mame or there's for Portuguese weddings, there's a Portuguese mom song. I don't know what it's called, but it's the same one. I think it's called I don't know. I don't want to ruin it. But someone Portuguese tell me what the Portuguese mom dad song is. The I'm still seeing Mama Boys to Man a lot. Porta Mia Ballata if you're Italian. I've seen that a lot. But you know what? We're missing that. We are missing that. I have a lot of friends that are singers and write music and so forth. And I've been telling them, we need some more mother-son dance songs and father-daughter dance songs. So I'm going to tell them again, by the way. I rescheduled my wedding from June to July. I have already told most guests we are postponing. When should I tell the guests of a new date? Hold on, I got to read that again. I rescheduled my wedding from June 20th to July 3rd. Are you saying you should change your wedding 2 weeks? I've already told most guests we are postponing. When should I tell the guest of the new date? I'm not sure I'm understanding that. If you change it a few weeks, the first thing I have to say is you might have to consider moving July, because I feel like July is going to start moving soon. Unfortunately, I do feel like that's going to happen. If you meant 2021, when should you tell them about the new date? Tell them before your old date. That's what I would say, especially if you sent invites out, obviously. Okay, nothing wrong with getting a Pinterest page, right? That's what I mean. So if you, going back to, I know we're jumping because the comments come later, but if going back to planning your wedding without getting engaged, again, there's so many people who are not engaged. Even me, when I was not engaged, I was looking at rings, I was looking at centerpieces. Just pin that stuff. Save them on Instagram, but whoever you're following. Follow people. Follow people on Instagram, because that's how you find out the people you like, not just the pictures of what they do, but if you look at their stories and they're talking to you, you know that they're people that you want to work with, that you'd like to be around for your whole wedding day. And, you know, follow people for a bit. Like, then that way you know who you like. So always do that, for sure. Do you feel like 2021 weddings are safe? What if this COVID stretches out to next year still? If it just stretches out to next year still, then we're just going to deal with it the same way we're dealing the same way we're dealing with it this year. We're going to take it day by day, week by week. We have to follow whatever the government announcements are. You know, I can't say, do I feel like 2021 weddings are safe? Because I hear things everywhere. I hear things like, oh, we're not going to have weddings for the rest of this year. I hear things like it's going to be 2 years, 18 months. Like, I hear all kinds of things. Nothing that's coming from anybody important. Not that they're not important, but like, you know, nothing written in stone. So I can't comment on that. I really am hopeful that it won't go that way. I really am hopeful that it won't go that way, for everybody's sake, for the industry, for the brides. I mean, if I was engaged, I wouldn't want to wait 3 years and keep pushing and keep pushing. I wouldn't want that at all. And a lot of these you know, if we risk that a lot of these vendors that you hired might not be around. They might have to go bankrupt if this keeps happening. So hopefully not. That's my answer. I don't want that to happen. And not just for business, and not just because I feel bad for you guys, but I just miss being around people, and I miss seeing happy events. And I really hope that 2021 weddings are good. And someone said because hers is 2022. Yeah, because what's going to happen is if 2021 moves, then 2022 ones are going to be getting affected. So hopefully it doesn't happen, but I cannot tell the future. Okay, sorry, July 3rd, 2021. Going back to moving your date from June to July. I was assuming that's what you were saying, but I just wanted to clarify. Yes, I would send out a save the date before your June wedding. You could even send it at the beginning of June. Creative House Entertainment saying Porta Mia Ballare is, oh my God, I said that wrong. Porta Mia Ballare is a beautiful song. I love that song. Like, I go to weddings all the time, and there's certain songs that I just stop and I think they still make me cry. Footprints in the Sand, Leona Lewis. My husband used this song. It was lovely. Yes, that's a nice song too. Amazing. We should come up with a song list and I'll post it. Let's see here. How far do you look in? Okay. Sorry, Booster Box. How far do you book? I'm sorry. In advance. Are you saying for myself? I usually, like, the furthest I've booked is 2 years in advance. If you tell me you want to book me for 2025, I'm going to say yes. I just don't know where I'm going to be. Hopefully I'll still be here, knock on wood. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of weddings booked for next year already. Now, I'll tell you what I tell other clients is that if you only need me for the day of and you call me a week before because you're in a panic and I'm available the next week, you can hire me. I can be there the week after because all it takes is a 2-hour meeting and we're good. But to be safe, get engaged, go to your venue, go to your church, get yourself a planner. That's what I would do. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just trying to go back to because I missed some. I hope they lift the minimum. These brides can get married. Thanks for answering your questions. You're welcome. First Man by Camila Cabello is a good fun. Oh yeah, that's a nice one. Oh my gosh, that made me cry when she sang that. That's a good one. Look that up. And I'm gonna say it again. Camila Cabello is a good father-daughter song. What's it called? Oh, First Man. I'm sorry, I had to repeat myself because I keep forgetting that when I post this to YouTube, all the comments don't show. So I have to be more clear about what I'm talking about. Would you suggest to do a new invite or do a digital invite? If you've sent your invites out already, it all depends on your budget. I probably would just do a change the date card, which has like a phone call back or just a response card. But if it's at the same place, you don't need to put another map. It doesn't have to be as fancy, but it can be the same colors. I'm not a big fan of digital invites. That's just me. There's some people that are, very environment friendly and would be so against me saying get another invite. I would do another invite. Would I want it exactly the same? Probably not. So I would send something else that's a little more scaled down. Let's see here. Do you think save the dates are necessary or invitations more than fine? Again, wedding is in January. Not sure if it makes sense to send them all at all and just send invitations. If you're not a date mover, if you haven't postponed your date, I don't see why you need to save the dates. I do a lot of invitations and a lot of them don't get save the dates. Also, January is not that busy, so it's not like you're getting married around Christmas time or on New Year's Eve and you want people to know ahead of time. So I don't think you have that much to worry about. Like I said before, the important people will know your date already and they'll already have it in their calendar. Can I come just day of the wedding? Yes, I do day of. And really day of is like a week of because we meet the week before. We have a 2-hour meeting. I come to the rehearsal, which is usually during the week. And then it's a full day. And throughout the week, I'm sending emails and corresponding with all your vendors. So it's not really just a day of, but yes, I do have a day of package. You can go to my website, theboostabox.com, and see all my packages and pricing that are there. If you're not following, click the follow button. I know a lot of people are watching, they're not clicking the follow button. So click the follow button, share with your friends. We do this every Wednesday, and I enjoy doing it thoroughly. So at the Boosta Box, and if you are not catching this, you can go to the YouTube at the Boosta Box, or on my Facebook page is the Boosta Box Events. I do have a Boosta Box page which just has invitations on Facebook. The Boosta Box Events has this stuff on it. Do you think traveling is a write-off this year? I would say yes. I would say yes. Don't book your honeymoon. That I would lay off of. You can't even do it now anyway, but I would just lay off your honeymoon. You know what? You might really appreciate having a honeymoon later on, considering everything that's happened. And you want to stay safe. Like if our country's good, it doesn't mean other countries are good. Butterfly Kisses Bob Carlisle is also another good father-daughter dance. Yes, it is. It's an oldie but a goodie. And I do hear that a lot still. What if you had a summer wedding and had the only option to change it to a winter wedding in a Sunday or Friday and summer 2021 was not available with the venue? Yes, I got married in the winter. I think winter weddings are beautiful. I think everybody needs to start thinking outside the box. There's nothing wrong with a Friday or a Sunday wedding, especially if we're going to be allowed to go out and party. People are going to want to go out even more than they used to. And I think winter weddings are beautiful. You just need to talk to your florist about maybe changing a few things. I had someone message me the other day about, oh, we have pink dresses. We can't move to the winter. How can we do that? We have pink dresses. Well, you can add a fur. You can add some darker leaves to your flowers, and you can add some darker colors to your flowers. So I have 20 seconds left on here. Just want to thank you for tuning in. Sorry if I didn't answer your question. You can DM me or send me questions for next week. I will see you next week. And stay safe, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week.